Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Tom's Takes podcast. I've got here another special guest with me, a lifelong A's fan, Brent Wasenius. Brent, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, Tom. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. Very, very happy to have you on. So, the A's, they have a long, long history, like over a century existence for this franchise. And they've been all over the place, from the East Coast to the Midwest to the West Coast. Now they're going to stay on the West Coast, but they're going to move from one West Coast city to another with a temporary stop in yet another West Coast city. That, of course, would be Sacramento. You, of course, you were not alive during the days of the franchise in Philadelphia.
The Connie Mack years, yeah. That was a little before my time. So,
yeah. But I remember you telling me you became an A's fan when they were in Kansas City, or at least you had some influence from the Kansas City A's. Talk about that a bit.
Well, my brother, I have two brothers, one that's 18 years older than me, one that's 9 years older than me, and then I was the last one in the family to come along. And my the middle son, Devin, he was an athletics fan. And when I was a little kid, this is about when I was 7, they made the playoffs. They lost to the Orioles, got swept, and then they went on and they won 3 straight World Series. So as a kid, you know, I just loved them. My brother loved them, and I loved them, and you know, they had the mustaches and the long hair, and they just seemed kind of rebellious. I don't know, as a little kid, I just kind of gravitated toward that, and I have never wavered in my allegiance to them. They are by far the team I'm most loyal to, maybe next to the Nebraska football team in that.
There you go. So you grew up watching guys like Dennis Eckersley and Raleigh Fingers.
Yeah, actually.
The mustaches and all.
Yeah, actually, back when it would have been Catfish Hunter, Kenny Holtzman, Bert Campaneris, Sal Bando, Joe Rudy, Bill North, Reggie, all those guys. And Raleigh, you mentioned him.
Yep. Yeah, that handlebar mustache.
Yeah.
Oh, that looks just amazing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we've talked about some A's memories to start. Let's talk about the vlog episode. Tell us what you liked about, even some critiques about the vlog episode.
Well, I think you showed, the one thing I have to say about the A's is they have paid homage to their history.
Yes.
You know, and I think you showed that in your vlog, that, you know, they had pictures up there of Giambi, like Jason Giambi, Miguel Tejada, Eckersley, Dave Henderson, guys throughout their franchise, and also big plays that had happened. I think they had Hatteberg's home run on there when they had their 20-game winning streak. I think they had that up there, and just clinching the World Series against the Mets. I think they had Fingers up there in the celebration with Ray Fosse. I may be off on my years there. That might have been against the Dodgers, but that's the one thing I really like about what you showed. They do pay homage to their past players, including calling the field in Oakland Rickey Henderson Field.
Yes,
you know.
Mm-hmm. Now let's get into the nitty gritty about the Coliseum. It's been a while since you last went to the Coliseum.
Yeah,
and that's okay, but you remember it pretty well, don't you?
Oh, I absolutely do, yeah.
Yep, so now we're going to rate the following. Let's dig into the location of the Coliseum. How do you like the location?
Well, the location wasn't bad. When I was out there, I got to see several games against the Twins, and I just walked to the ballpark, and I was working for a business here in Fremont, and we were out there, and I walked back to the Holiday Inn that we were staying in, and the manager I'd gotten to know because we had been there for a while, and he said to me, he goes, "How was the game last night?" I said, "Oh, it was great. The A's won." And I said, "The walk back wasn't too bad." And he goes, "Walk?" He said, "You walked back here?" I go, "Yeah." He said, "Oh, don't ever do that." I was young and didn't know better, but it was kind of a little sketchy neighborhood, I guess you could say. But to me, it was very convenient to get to in that. So the location of it, you would know better because you were just there in that. What did you think of it?
Yeah, the location, I would say I would give that a 4 out of 10. And maybe it's not the worst ever, but
Yeah.
it's in a very industrial area. And
Exactly.
You mentioned it. It's not in a very bright part of town. The one thing that does kind of save it is it's nearby the arena, the formerly Oracle Arena where the Warriors used to play. It's also in an accessible area, which we'll get into more later on. But yeah, it's very easily accessible to people that are trying to get there. That leads us to outside atmosphere. How did you like the outside atmosphere? Like, were people tailgating outside when you were there?
Not really. I mean, after being at other ballparks, such as Wrigley and where the Nationals play, and I would say that was pretty poor, actually.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't a great atmosphere when I was there.
Yeah, I would give that, I would say, a 5 out of 10 because there was a good tailgating scene at the game that I was at.
Okay.
Yeah, but again, it's not in a great area of town.
Right.
And so, yeah, there isn't a ton of like opportunity for bars, shops, restaurants. They've got none of that nearby.
And that's what I love about Wrigley, man. They just have all the bars and things down there, and it's just a great atmosphere, you know.
Absolutely. Let's go on to parking and accessibility. I would say that's a 10 out of 10 for me. I think it's incredibly accessible, like because you've got vast amount of parking spots nearby, and the BART. I mean, everybody took the BART.
Yeah,
I was there. It's got the Coliseum stop right there. Yeah, I remember I stayed after the game for about 45 minutes just outside the Coliseum because I just wanted to avoid the mass crowd that was filing toward the BART to go back home. But did you ride the BART?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I did. I don't know if it was on that trip but I have been on that. Yeah.
Okay. How would you rate the accessibility?
Well, I'd say it was pretty. I'd say like a 7 or 8.
Okay.
What did you think?
Yeah, 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. Okay.
Yeah. It's I just love how convenient it is. I mean,
Yeah.
I think. Oh yeah, and there's also like this thing called I think it's called the Caltrain or something like that, or it's an Amtrak train. Caltrain might be. I think that's San Francisco, but
Okay.
this Amtrak train. It also has a stop nearby where people from Sacramento, people from I think as far south as San Jose, can get to the Coliseum. So yeah, if you were an A's fan that didn't live in Oakland but somewhere in or near the East Bay, you could get there pretty easily.
That's kind of like in Washington D.C. You can go to the Orioles games in Baltimore if you want by taking a train. It's a pretty quick trip, you know.
Yep, and now we're going to talk about the exterior. Ooh, I would give this a 2 out of 10. I mean, I just walked toward the Coliseum as I get off the BART. It did not look good.
No. Yeah, I'd probably give it a 3 or a 4, maybe. Well, a 3. I'd probably give it. Well, you know, it's just not really conducive for baseball after what happened with the Mountain Davis and all that.
Yep.
So.
Yep, and the one thing that kind of saves it from keeping it from being a 0 is there's a part outside the building where they highlight their history. They highlight like some epic moments in the franchise's history. They highlight the World Series championships, even the World Series that they won in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they won 5 World Series championships in Philadelphia and, of course, 4 in Oakland. But that's the exterior. The interior, not much better. Mount Davis killed it.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, Mount Davis was meant for football. It was for the Raiders. Mount Davis, Al Davis, was the owner of the Raiders, who demanded that the city fund it entirely with taxpayer money. He wouldn't pitch it in his own money, which was, I think that's pretty outrageous. But
yeah, I'd agree with you.
Yep. How would you rate the interior?
Probably a 2.
Yep. I mean,
and that might be kind.
Yeah. Again, the one thing that keeps it from being a 0, I like how they've got the the retired numbers out there on Mount Davis. You got Reggie Jackson, Dave Stewart, Dennis Eckersley, Raleigh Fingers, Ricky Henderson, and Catfish Hunter. I just named all 6.
Yep, all 6 of them. Yeah, very good.
Yeah. Concourse, oof, not great. The concourse, it's dark, cramped.
Yeah.
Very concreted, a lot of exposed
It's
wires.
depressing, actually.
Yeah, it just wasn't a very good scene. I was doing my concourse tour, and that took me a long time to get through everyone because it was just so crowded.
Yeah, I saw that on your vlog that it was very crowded in that. But it is. I just think that's depressing in there compared to other stadiums. I've been to the National Stadium a lot, and of course Kansas City, and I love Camden Yards. But yeah, it just rates very poorly compared to those.
Yep. All those other ballparks have nice, wide open concourses where you can see the action on the field.
Yeah, yeah.
The moment you get out of your seat at the Coliseum, you're tuned out from the action. I'm not sure if they had TVs in the concourses. I don't remember that. But even if they did, it was like delayed by, I want to say like 30 seconds or so. So you didn't have a great idea what was going on. It was, it just wasn't very good. So that's the concourse. Food, I didn't really have a ton of food. I did have the I think it's called the Colossal hot dog. It was a pretty big hot dog. It was decent. I would give that, I would say, a 7.5 out of 10. What food did you have at the Coliseum?
Just the traditional. I think I had beer and hot dogs and popcorn.
Were they good?
Yeah, they were good. Nothing exceptional, though, again, comparing them to other ballparks. I'd probably give them a 7.
Yeah, the one thing that the A's were really missing was, at least not that I saw while I was there, is the lack of, like, unique food items. I mean, I didn't see anything super local, like anything Bay Area inspired. Something that you can only get in the Bay Area, or particularly the East Bay. I think, and I didn't drink anything, but I think the closest local flavor as they got was like they had wines, like Napa Valley wines.
Yeah,
they had that, especially in the bar areas.
Yeah, you would think they would have more of a Bay menu there, options, I should say. So, but because like if you go to a Vikings game or a Packers game, they'll have cheese curds and things. Something that is for the area there. So. Yeah, I'd agree with you on that.
Moving on to honoring team history. We've already talked a bit about this. I think the A's did a pretty darn good job of honoring their history, especially with that mural in the concourse that detailed just about the whole existence in Oakland, all the great moments from the three-peat in the 70s to that epic Bay Bridge World Series in 1989, from the earthquake to the moment they swept the Giants. And that had to feel good. The one thing, and this is a big strike on the A's, is that, like I mentioned earlier, they won 4 World Series in Oakland. You've got to have 4 World Series trophies lying around somewhere. Where were they?
Good question. I do not know.
Apparently, they were already moved to Sacramento even before the team went there.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's... come on, guys. You got to have your World Series trophy, your most prized possession, somewhere out in the open for all to see, for fans to get their pictures with, to bring back great memories for fans that were around in the 70s and in 1989.
Yeah.
Yep. So I would give that a 6.5 out of 10 for the way they honor their history. I mean, yeah, the mural is great. Yeah, they did a really good job with that, but you got to have your World Series history.
Yeah, you raise a good point about that. I think they do honor people like Ricky and Catfish and Reggie and that pretty well, but it's a good point about the World Series trophies, because that is something fans really would like to get their picture taken with, and a lot of the ballparks will have those, protected in a huge glass in case or whatever. Not glass, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yep. And so what I would recommend the A's do, and they're not going to listen to me, but is get those 4 trophies back to Oakland. The Oakland A's won those World Series trophies.
Yeah.
Not the Sacramento or the Las Vegas A's.
Right.
The Oakland A's. If a franchise eventually moves away, but they won a World Series championship in a previous market, that market and that market alone can claim credit to that World Series championship.
Yeah.
If it's won there, it stays there.
Yeah. Got to remember who the ownership is.
Yes.
Not the sharpest guy, We'll get into that, I'm sure.
Yes. Scoreboard. Ooh, not great. I mean, it's better than like an old school dot matrix board. It's fully digitized and on. There's 2 scoreboards on the sides of the Coliseum, but yeah, they were not in a very good location.
Mm-mm.
It's you should have your scoreboard like right out in center field, like somewhere where the fans can easily see it, like somewhere in the outfield. Instead, they were on the third and first base lines. I would give the scoreboard, I would say a 4 out of 10. What say you?
I'd say about 4 or 5. Yeah, probably. It's not. I don't know. It's not real modernized in there as we've talked about, and that's just part of it as well.
Mm-hmm. Going on to displays around the place, I think we've already talked about that, but yeah, the mural and the retired numbers. But let's go to cost. During my game there, it was pretty expensive more than I thought it would be. It cost me over $100, like just over $100 for my seat, which was upper lower bowl. I mean, I understand the high price because it was the last ever Bay Bridge Series game.
Sure.
Yeah, against the Giants. It was going to be a packed crowd.
Yeah.
But my hot dog, I think it cost $7, which I don't think is a terrible price for a major league hot dog.
No.
Yeah, so I guess there's a little points in that, but I would say the cost of the place is, I would go with 5 out of 10.
No, it's probably reasonable. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You've been there more recently than I have. That's outrageous for a ticket price.
Mm-hmm. When you went, did it break your bank at all?
No. One night I sat right first row behind the A's dugout. And I don't remember how much it was at the time, but it wasn't crazy. Man, I was like, I'm going to get the best seats I can possibly get. And so I sat there, and then I sat there for a doubleheader the next day or 2 days later in right field, which I think you document on some of the crazies out there.
Yes.
But no, it didn't break my bank.
Okay.
So.
All right. You just led into our next topic, fan support and inside atmosphere. I would say 8.5 out of 10. It wasn't insane, but the A's fans, they were really passionate.
Yeah.
Yep, and especially you mentioned them, the people out in right field, they were
banging the drums,
waving the flags. They were very vocal. That was good to see.
It's a very passionate fan base. It's just like the Raiders fan base. It was, there for years. They just love their team, great support. The problem they have had is just attendance, getting enough people in there, because it's such a big place, as we've talked about with the Mount Davis and all that. But the people that are there, they make it known that they're fans, and they really they supported the A's.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great fan base that the A's had in Oakland. Going on to amenities like bars, restaurants, kids' play areas. They did a decent job with this. There's one bar area that we highlighted called Shibe Park Tavern. You know what Shibe Park is?
Yeah.
Yep, that's where they played in Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they had bricks from the actual Shibe Park installed.
Oh, that's neat.
Into the bar. Yep, and so it's a It's a neat social bar area. And then there was this area called the Treehouse, which is more of a kids thing. Had a batting cage. It had a base running challenge, obviously inspired by the Man of Steel, Ricky Henderson. There was ping pong. There was maybe a foosball table, but I remember there were being ping pong. There was a pool table, another big bar area that was very tree themed. They call it the tree house for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that was a really neat area. That was probably my favorite part of the Coliseum. I would give that, I'll say, a solid 8 out of 10.
Okay.
Yep.
I from what you had on the vlog, I would agree with that. You know,
did they have any of those bar areas or kids play areas while you were there?
they had some kid play areas that I recall, and there were a few. There was at one bar that I remember there, but there wasn't a lot like it is now at ballparks. You know, areas that you can go and kind of hang out if you want.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I defer to you on that one, probably.
Yep. We'll talk about one more thing, and then we're going to get into the relocation saga, and that is the elephant mascot, Stomper. Yep. Was Stomper around when you were there?
I do not recall him being there. Yeah. And they didn't have, or at that time, they didn't have the race with Raleigh and Ricky and Catfish that they do. I think they do that in the 7th inning, don't they?
Yeah, it's a 5th or 6th inning.
Okay. Yeah. But no, they didn't. So
Stomper, he's a lovable mascot. He was he was pretty active. I'd give him another 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, the kids loved him.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was pretty popular. Do you know the story of Stomper, or how the elephant became the A's mascot?
It was John McGraw, I think.
Yes.
Made some crack about them when Connie Mack was there, if I recall.
Mm-hmm.
And then he made something about a white elephant.
Yeah, he called the team a white elephant.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, and Connie Mack was he laughed about it.
Yeah.
And he decided to make that a rallying cry for the team. And thus, the elephant was born.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a good chance maybe Stomper was there. But the mascots in MLB kind of came along. Oh, I don't know, in the early 2000s more. I want to say, like Slugger in Kansas City and some of these others. So, he may have been there, and I just don't recall it. But.
Yep. Now we're gonna get into the relocation saga and how the A's went from Oakland to Las Vegas. Yeah, it's a pretty wild story.
Yeah.
Yep. As my laptop currently loads here, but and we already talked about this before we started recording. John Fisher, yeah, he's an asshole, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. I can't stand him. He is one of the worst. I grew up through the Charlie Finley era, and if he had kept that team together, they probably would have won a couple more world championships. And John Fisher, as I had opportunities with the team he had Matt Olson, he had Matt Chapman, he had Marcus Simeon, and he just wouldn't pay him, and he broke them up. And now he's got a team going forward now that looks pretty good offensively. But the thing is he going to be paying these guys? He's got one of his stars, Lawrence Butler, signed, and Brent Rooker's another one signed. But he's got some up-and-coming guys, and it's like, okay, if you're going to go to Vegas, you better sign some of these guys. And I don't know if he will.
What's your take on Nick Kurtz?
Oh, I think he's a great player. I was very happy when they got him in the draft last year from Wake Forest. He just, think about it. He was playing college baseball, got drafted, went to, I think, high A, and then I can't remember if he was at AA or AAA when they called him up. And man, his start wasn't, oh my God, good at the beginning, but it has been that way in the last 2 months. He really is an amazing player. So I'm glad they've got him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mason Miller is now a San Diego Padre, but I think I saw him during my game at the Coliseum. He was a hell of a closer.
Yeah, I was. I wasn't very happy that they had dealt him, but then you study the returns that they got. They got the number 3 prospect in all of baseball, Leo DeVries, and then they got 3 other pitchers. So, you hope it pans out. But those kind of trades, you never know until 3-4 years down the road how they're going to work out. But Mason Miller was the real deal.
Yes, absolutely. All right, my computer has loaded up, and now let's get into what happened and how the A's went from Oakland to Vegas. We begin in 1966. What was the significance of 1966?
Let's see, 66 would have been when Charlie moved them to Oakland, correct?
Not quite. That was 68.
That was 68. Okay.
66?
You'll have to, I don't know. What was it?
The Coliseum was built.
Oh, it was built. Okay. All right.
And right away, it instantly attracted the NFL franchise, the Raiders. In 1968, you already mentioned it, it attracted a Major League Baseball franchise, the Athletics. They, of course, moved to Oakland from Kansas City. Multi-purpose stadiums that hosted both NFL and Major League Baseball teams, those were very common in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s. Yep, those were the thing. But, of course, by the 90s and the early 2000s, those stadiums really deteriorated. They did not age well at all. And now Major League Baseball and NFL franchises, they were starting to build stadiums that were strictly meant for baseball or for football.
Yeah.
Yep, and so the A's hunt for a new ballpark in the Bay Area. It had been going on as far back as 2001. It was clear by that point that the Coliseum was very outdated. We'll dive into every one of the ballpark proposals later on, but first, going back further to 1982, what happened then?
Let's see, 82. Well, that was
not A's related.
Not A's related. Oh, it was the Raiders.
Yes.
That was when they left, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
They left for L.A. Raiders owner Al Davis, we mentioned it earlier, he wanted to install luxury suites at the Coliseum, but the city told him
nope.
So he reacts by moving the team to L.A. The A's would take advantage of that, and they would make the place more baseball friendly. But then Davis and the Raiders would agree to return to Oakland 13 years later in 1995 because Oakland was finally interested in building luxury suites and making the Coliseum more football friendly. The Raiders were experiencing problems in LA with the Memorial Coliseum where USC plays.
Yeah.
And so they were like, we want back in Oakland. And so they did that. But when the Raiders came back, we've already talked about it extensively, the monstrosity that was Mount Davis was built. And while it was good for football, it was very bad for baseball.
Yeah, it was.
Yep. Mount Davis, it expanded capacity, which you need for football, but it closed off beautiful views of the Oakland Hills.
Yeah, it really did.
It took whatever charm that the place had away.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Mm-hmm. Because so many seats were available, the A's had a hard time selling season tickets, and folks could sit wherever they wanted. And then that led to people being spread out. And thus, when people are spread out, what happens to the atmosphere?
Yeah, you don't. It's not as loud, and it just doesn't carry the weight that it does when you have people all together and feeding off of each other's energy.
Mm-hmm. Football is not baseball. It's a much more grand sport. It relies on those big, fired-up crowds. Baseball, it relies on fired-up crowds too, but baseball is more intimate. It's more family-friendly. It's more accessible.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, and so Mount Davis would end up being tarped off, which closed a major portion of the Coliseum. And it even led at one point to the place having Major League Baseball's lowest seating capacity because of those tarps. And due to city regulations, the A's couldn't even put advertisements on the tarps. So, yeah.
I lost money there then,
yeah.
too.
If you're going to put tarps on part of your ballpark, you better at least try to make money off of that and put, advertisements on those tarps. But they couldn't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that really sucked. Oh, we haven't even gotten into the problems that the Coliseum had, like sewage backups, which flooded the locker rooms and the dugouts, malfunctioning lights, cramped concourses. Kind of did talk about earlier. A possum.
Oh, yeah, they've had that.
A possum living in the walls of the place. Oh, and the many stray cats that hung around, too. And did you hear about this? In a vending machine on the press box, they found dead mice.
Oh, my God.
Dead mice.
Can I tell you a quick story
Go
about
ahead.
their cheapness?
Yes.
I go to spring training every year, either in Florida or Arizona, and I've been doing that for about 25 years now. 2 years ago, we were at an A's game, and as you well know, when you cover an event, the team will provide lunch for the media. Well, not the A's. We walked by and they had a sign up that said media lunches $15. And so I asked a guy who was there covering for him, and he said, "Yeah, it was basically just a hoagie and chips, and that was it." But they were charging the media for their lunches.
What?
So yeah, that's John Fisher. Yeah, I can talk about John Fisher all day if you want.
We're gonna get more into him later on. And then there was issues with spider webs, moth infestations, homeless encampments nearby, and broken seats. I mean, the seats were in okay shape when I was there, but I know I've heard plenty of stories of seats that were broken, and I've seen other YouTube vloggers that went to the Coliseum in the A's last year, and yeah, the seats, some of the seats they found, they just were very beat up, and you couldn't sit in them.
Yeah.
Yep, and so the Coliseum, as we've established pretty clearly, it needed to be replaced ASAP. So the first attempt in 2001 was a site in uptown Oakland. Then Oakland mayor, who would eventually become California governor, Jerry Brown, he rejected that plan because he wanted to build more housing in that area. Did you know about that?
I don't recall that. There's been so many twists and turns in this saga of a stadium. I don't recall that, but I'm sure it did happen.
Yeah. Well, that was like the first major proposal. There were thoughts to build simply next to the Coliseum, and that was considered for a bit, but ultimately crime, an inability to build a whole ballpark district, and even environmental issues like sea level rise and the cost of mitigating groundwater under the Coliseum, because the place sits 22 feet below sea level, as well as outstanding debt still owed by Oakland to pay off the bonds that funded Mount Davis. That is what doomed those Coliseum efforts.
Okay.
Yep. So it's not really a desirable area anyway, as we talked about.
It's not, no.
Yeah, there's just parking lots and industrial buildings nearby. There's no skyline. There's no waterfront. There's not much visually pleasing to look at.
No.
Like San Francisco has the Bay. Pittsburgh has the skyline. Those two ballparks are consistently rated as among the best, if not the best, in all the major leagues, because charm like that matters.
It does.
It really does. So in the mid to late 2000s, actually, before I go on to that, the people that owned the land nearby the Coliseum that the A's considered to build their new ballpark, those people weren't even willing to sell anyway, and so that's what killed that deal. But in the mid to late 2000s, a site in Fremont, California, which is 30 maybe to 45 minutes south of Oakland.
I'd say that.
I think it's still in Alameda County, and it's still in the East Bay, but it's not Oakland. I'm not sure if they moved there. I'm not sure if they would have been called the Oakland A's if they had moved there. But the mid to late 2000s, a site in Fremont would come online, and it even had a naming rights deal. Cisco Field.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yep. Cisco was based in Silicon Valley. And so, yeah, they wanted to take advantage of the A's moving there and this new ballpark. But after delays and fierce public opposition by Fremont residents, the A's would ditch Fremont. Yep. And so in the early to mid 2010s, the A's looked to San Jose to build their new ballpark, but they ran into a problem of their own doing. Do you remember that problem?
Say that again.
In the early to mid 2010s, the A's would try to build a new ballpark in San Jose.
Okay.
And they ran into a problem of their own doing. Do you remember that?
I remember I'm trying to go to San Jose, but I don't remember what happened.
So in 1992, when their rivals across the bay, the Giants, they were in a similar situation and trying to build a new ballpark under the threat of relocation, the A's ceded territorial rights in the Silicon Valley to the Giants in order to help keep them in San Francisco. And so now that the A's are in the same situation, did the Giants have the A's back?
No.
You know what happened?
They
stabbed them in the back. The Giants sued to stop the A's from building a ballpark in San Jose, as they said it was their territory, and the U.S. Supreme Court sided with them. The Giants also get a lot of their revenue from San Jose and that whole Silicon Valley region, so they made it clear to the A's, this is our territory, stay out of it. In 2014, the A's would sign a 10-year lease for the Coliseum to buy them more time to find a new home, and they had to build it somewhere in Oakland. So no more Fremont, no more San Jose. Don't explore anywhere else in the Bay Area. The Oakland A's have to stay the Oakland A's. That was the deal that John Fisher signed with the city.
Yeah.
So you have that. But do you know who was upset by that?
I don't know. Who?
The Raiders.
Oh, the Raiders.
Yep.
Okay.
The Raiders were not...
Oh, and then, this is what... Yeah.
Yep. The Raiders did not like that their baseball roommates had signed a new 10-year lease. They had plans to make the Coliseum a football-only venue, and that was a big reason why they are where they are today.
In Vegas.
In Vegas. After the Golden State Warriors won the NBA title in 2015, which was the first of their dynasty run, the A's found a site around the Laney Community College area near Lake Merritt. They really liked that spot after seeing hundreds of thousands of Warrior fans at their championship parade gather around there. However, there were major infrastructure problems and serious opposition from the Peralta Community College District. Did the A's tell the Community College District of their plans before announcing them?
I don't think so.
Yeah, you're right. John Fisher at it again.
Exactly.
The schools were caught completely off guard by the A's intending to build a ballpark there. And so, when they found this out, they said, no, hell no, absolutely not. And so in 2018, the A's announced new ballpark plans on the Howard Terminal. That also included a lot of mixed-use development. It would include a 35,000-seat ballpark.
I was excited about that. I thought that was going to get done.
Yes. I really like the renderings of the place. But it included a 35K seat ballpark, 3,000 units of affordable housing, office and retail space, and a hotel with 400 rooms. But what happened in 2020?
They just couldn't get it done. It seemed like they ran into roadblocks, and then there were city officials that weren't playing ball with them, and then the A's were having problems with the city, and it was just a mess, as I recall.
Yep. Yeah, in 2020, the pandemic hits, which, of course, slowed everything down. But, you mentioned it. There was a lot of pushback from businesses near the waterfront, and lawsuits were constantly being filed to stop the ballpark from being built by environmental groups. Howard Terminal was a bold plan, but it was facing scrutiny as there were, did you know about this? There were fires at a nearby steel mill, and smoke from those fires would have been an issue.
I did not know that, or don't recall that anyway.
Yep, and that was a big obstacle that Howard Terminal faced. That and the insane price, $12 billion.
Jeez.
Yep. So in 2021, Major League Baseball's patience really started to wear thin on the Howard Terminal project. It had been a thing for 2.5 years because this project was proposed in November of 2018, but in May of 2021, 2.5 years after the proposal, that's when Rob Manfred said, okay, A's, we got to do something here. The lease is coming up real soon in 3 years.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's about time that we give you guys permission to explore Las Vegas as a relocation possibility. Manfred has always wanted a presence in Las Vegas, and it would only be a matter of time before Sin City had a Major League Baseball team, either through expansion or through a relocated franchise. The A's had until January of 2024 to lock in a ballpark deal with Oakland, or else they would lose revenue sharing from Major League Baseball. There were also disputes about whether the team's money or taxpayer money would be funding the bulk of the costs for the place, which again cost $12 billion. That's insane, isn't it?
It is.
Yep. I think the ballpark would have cost $1 billion, and the other $11 billion would be for the surrounding area. And there were actually some good steps being taken toward a ballpark as the Oakland City Council approved a non-binding agreement for the ballpark in July of 2021. In 2022, the project's environmental impact report was approved by the city, and the San Francisco Bay Conservation and Development Commission voted to remove the poor priority use of Howard Terminal to make way for the new ballpark and its village. But in October of 2022, the A's missed a city deadline to finalize a development agreement for the ballpark. That really hurt their chances of staying in Oakland. That deadline was there because if the city hadn't gotten that development agreement done by then, a binding vote by the Oakland City Council wouldn't happen. The city said there was a tight timeline of other necessary reviews that would have followed between October and early December of 2022 as the reason for that deadline. Then A's president Dave Kaval said if negotiations were pushed back into 2023, that would have doomed their efforts to stay in Oakland. And here's why. Because elections were coming up 2022, midterm elections. And the mayor that the A's had been negotiating with, Libby Schaff, well, she was term limited. Oakland's mayor office has term limits, and of course, she could not run again. And when you have a new mayor, negotiations have to start all over. And so, unfortunately, it seemed that was about to happen. It seemed that negotiations were about to be pushed back into 2023. Now, in previous negotiations, Oakland agreed to pick up the tab for transportation systems and any other infrastructure that the ballpark needed. Unfortunately, in January of 2023, the city was denied funding by the U.S. Transportation Department on that month. Back and forth talks were not going anywhere with this new mayor, Sheng Tao, and time was running out. And then the bombshell dropped. In April of 2023, what did the A's say?
Going to Vegas.
Yep, they made it clear that they've had enough with Oakland. They announced they had purchased land for a new ballpark in Sin City. And when that was announced, negotiations ended with Oakland. Ultimately, it was the constant delays, which included things like environmental issues, financing issues, major community opposition for every single proposal that they had. That's what killed the Howard Terminal project. It's what killed every project that the A's proposed. The A's found land to build what's now an over $2 billion ballpark, which was still far cheaper than the Howard Terminal site, and the Nevada government agreed to pitch in $380 million to the effort. But Oakland Mayor Sheng Tao, she wasn't done yet. She met with Major League Baseball leaders, including Commissioner Rob Manfred, during the All-Star break in Seattle to make her case on why Oakland should keep the A's. How did that go?
It didn't go very well.
No. Nobody with any serious political muscle like representatives or senators at either the state or the federal levels, or even county supervisors, would accompany Sheng Tao to that meeting. So
what's that tell you?
Yeah.
They just didn't care.
They did not care. Yeah. Nobody took her seriously. She had to do this essentially all on her own. Manfred...
I was just going to say that was the problem with all of this.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted the ballpark there in Oakland. And again, Fisher's a jerk, but they weren't willing to, circle the wagons and say, what can we do to get this done?
Mm-hmm.
They just, it's really sad for the people of Oakland in that area.
It really is. So Manfred and the Board of Governors, they were not buying what Mayor Tao was selling. And so later that year, in November of 2023, the board unanimously approved the A's move from Oakland to Las Vegas. The A's convinced everyone on the board that Oakland as a whole just wasn't a viable market for them anymore. They couldn't build a ballpark anywhere there. It's very rare to get 30 people in one room to unanimously agree on just about anything. Yeah. But all Major League Baseball board members agreed to move the A's to Vegas. Yeah. What does that tell you?
Well, if I can just give you a little bit of history about the A's, they have never had great attendance there. Now, when Smoke Stewart and Eckersley and Ricky, those guys were there, they drew fairly well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but even in '74, they didn't break. They won the World Championship that year, and I think they were last in the American League in attendance, or they were pretty darn close to the bottom of that.
Even when they were doing well, attendance still wasn't very
They haven't had great attendance there. And then it got rock bottom, and I think it was 1979 when Jim Marshall was the manager. They only drew like 360,000 for the year.
Really?
And then luckily, Finley was going to sell the team, and there was a guy named Marvin Davis who was a big oil businessman. He wanted to buy the A's and move them to Denver.
Okay.
And there was a man named Walter Haas, mm-hmm. who his family was involved with Levi Strauss and the Jeans. He came in and said, I don't want this franchise to leave Oakland. He bought them, and that's what set him up for success for a long year. The Haas family they were great people, mm-hmm. and they signed their stars to long-term deals and that, and they're very good group. But that saved that franchise really or they would have been gone. They would have been in Denver in 1980. Mm-hmm. So
I think Walter Haas, he was the last owner that actually cared about
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly about that. Because if you've seen the movie Moneyball, they had Ken Schott and I can't remember the other guy. Steve Schott and Ken Hoffman. I might have their names wrong. Schott and Hoffman were the co-owners, and they were okay, but they were stingy with their money too. But then when Fisher and Wolf got involved, things had just really gone downhill with that. So,
mm-hmm.
But anyway, that was my little history on that. My point is they just never have had great attendance there,
mm-hmm.
Even in their heydays.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Back to the recent days, 2 years ago. Let's not forget that Sheng Tao, after she was recalled by the city last year, did you know that?
Yeah.
Yeah, she was recalled, which is a first in Oakland history. She was indicted on bribery charges and is facing many years, even decades, in prison. Yeah, so she's in big trouble for stealing from the city. So, even if Oakland and the A's had cut a ballpark deal because of Mayor Sheng Tao's legal problems,
mm-hmm.
it would have been compromised anyway.
Yeah, it would have been. Yeah.
I think Major League Baseball board members, they knew that.
They may have.
Yeah, and that's why they unanimously said the A's have to go.
Well, I think the site they have out in Vegas is a good site. It's on the Strip there, where the old Tropicana Hotel was, across from Mandalay Bay and Luxor, that area. If you've been to Vegas, that's, people would know where that is. But I think that will be a good thing for them as long as they put a winning product on the field. You're going to get a lot of visitors out there that will go, let's go to a game here and that. And, the franchises out there, the hockey franchise has done well. The Aces have done well, and the Raiders. So hopefully they'll do well out there.
Yep. So back to Shang Tao. She's facing a criminal investigation, and she was while negotiating a deal worth billions of dollars. That's not going to end well, is it?
No, it's not.
No. So yeah, it's likely that Major League Baseball and Manfred, they knew all this. Yet it's no wonder why they unanimously voted to move the A's out, even though they listened to her make her case on why the A's should stay there. But now, as we talked about Vegas, construction is underway, and it's projected to open, I think, in March or April of 2028.
Right.
And I like the location that it's in, right on the Strip. Tourists are going to flock to the games like ravens or whatever. But when I was in the Grand Canyon, the ravens were everywhere. They always were in groups, and they would always clean up after us every time we ate.
Oh, yeah.
So that's where that comes from. But the tourists are going to love the place. It's going to be, I like the renderings of it. It's going to be a fully domed ballpark. It kind of has to be because it's Vegas.
The heat.
It's the desert.
Yeah.
And it's the cost. It originally, I think it was $1.5 billion. Last year it went up to $1.75 billion. Now Fisher even said it's gone up to $2 billion. He said he's okay with that and that they still have the money to fund everything. But that suggests to me that not only is inflation still a problem, then of course there's tariffs that might play a role, but this suggests to me that they're adding some newer, more modern, more fancy technology into the place that might be more expensive. And so, I'm excited to see what this place is made of.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait to go out there and do a vlog episode on it.
Yeah. Well, and as we talked about earlier, like with Nick Kurtz and Lawrence Butler, they have a pretty good starting 9 that they can put out there right now. They just need to get some pitching. And they tried during the offseason. They made a trade for one pitcher, Jeffrey Springs, and then they signed Luis Severino that used to pitch for the Mets and Yankees. But Louis hates pitching in Sacramento because it's a minor league park, and he's made his displeasure with that known. So we'll see if they'll keep him. But they need to build up some either trade for some arms or develop some pitching. And then I think they'll be okay as long as Fisher doesn't screw it up.
You talked about Sacramento. So, they're playing at the AAA ballpark of the Giants. Sacramento Rivercats are the Giants' AAA affiliate. And so, I understand why the A's wanted to stay in Northern California. They're only 90 minutes away from their former home. And they also wanted to keep that TV deal, I think, with NBC California.
That was a big part of it.
Yep. And so, I understand why they wanted to stay in Northern California. But, I think Oakland missed another opportunity because if you remember, the Raiders, even when they announced their Vegas plans, they still stayed in Oakland for the next 3 years before Allegiant Stadium in Vegas was ready.
That's true.
Yep. The A's and Mayor Tao, I think she wanted to do the same thing, keep the A's in Oakland until the new ballpark in Vegas is ready. But what drove them out to Sacramento was she made very unreasonable terms. She proposed a major rent hike for the A's to stay at the Coliseum. She also wanted to keep all the branding, like the green and gold, the elephant, the Athletics name, like all of that intellectual property in Oakland. And with that, she wanted Major League Baseball to guarantee Oakland a future Major League Baseball franchise. And of course, Fisher and Manfred, they said, nope, yeah, we can't guarantee all that. And so,
Yeah. And again, this is another example of an official not working. If you are the mayor there, wouldn't you want to do what's best for the city on trying to keep this franchise there for, at least 3 more years, instead of making all these demands and then just having them say, okay, see ya. That's what they ran into with all this. It's just very frustrating, and I feel bad for the A's fans out there.
Yes. Yeah, it really is a heartbreaking time for folks in Oakland and that whole East Bay. It really does make you sad.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to wrap things up for this episode of the Tom's Takes podcast. Brent, do you have any final words?
No, thanks for having me on. I just, the A's are my team, and they always will be. I just love that franchise and have so many great memories.
Absolutely. Well, Brent, thank you so much
You
for
bet.
joining me. Yeah, you are the man, and I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, talking all things Coliseum and the A's. Signing off from the studio in Fremont. We'll see you in the next episode.